South High Community School, and welcome to the Word Wall, where everyone is welcome here. Here is some information about the Word Wall. During South High Community School's International Week, the entire school is invited to write an essay to answer the question, what does the South High community mean to you? The completed assignments were compiled and analyzed to create a word wall that represents the thoughts and ideas of the entire school community. Ta-da! Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for patiently waiting for this broadcast. Get your happy on. And if you've been following me this week, I have been slaying all sorts of technical dragons to be live on the road, to be adept. And so there's nothing you can throw at me now. I'm all prepared. So I invite you to come on and join a conversation. Welcome to all of you to this Get Your Happy On show. And this is where you can bring your own favorite beverage of choice. So let me know what it is that you're drinking to keep hydrated, to keep rejuvenated, etc. So share with me in the comments. I'm drinking Dunkin' Donuts iced tea. Yes, I need this much sugar today. So I love for you to join in our conversation today. So please comment away. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you're feeling today. So say hello, chat away in the comments. And if you enjoyed that clip, this is my brand new high school. So I am visiting my hometown, Worcester, and I get to tour the brand new facilities of South High Community School. And one of my favorite features growing up and attending school was seeing all the flags. And the flags represented all the international students that live in this particular neighborhood, this district, because the high schools are broken down by districts. And in the south of Worcester, we just happened to be the most diverse. And we had so many international students attend this school. And even to this day, it attracts many international ethnicities and diversity. And so I love that they kept the flags, because as soon as you first walked in, they would hang from the rafters. And it was just so welcoming to see that. And I'm so glad they kept that tradition. And they moved the flags to, where the skylight is, of course, so it could be illuminated. But I love that. And I love that they did that word wall. I love how they got the students involved to write the essays. And it just makes my heart sing. So it's such a privilege just to be able to walk these halls and just to feel like I'm in high school again. And even to also maybe like laugh at some of my most awkward teenage moments. So we're going to get into that very soon with my fabulous guest today. You might have seen Z all around on my online collaborations. Z is one of my favorite online collaborators. And so without further ado, let's bring up Stef Garvin. Ta-da! Hi, Stef.
Hey, Olivia. Great to be here with you today.
Thank you so much for being with me. I mean, we were on this morning for the Speaker
We
Spotlight.
were with Terry Levine.
With Terry Levine, and she did a fantastic job. So thank you, Terry, for coming on and doing our Speaker Spotlight for the Sing Your Heart Song Summit. And here we are again. And so I just really appreciate you helping me out with this, initiative of my own, right? So we often do collaborations with each other, but it's also good to have like my own stuff. And you've got your own stuff as well, your own programs. You're known as a story architect. And so we'd love for our audience to know a little bit about that program and what you do with helping people with creating their blueprints for abundance. I love how you've changed up your tagline now.
It's always an evolving process. And, one of the things I love about story and the way that we've used story throughout history is not only to entertain each other, which isn't a really valuable part of story, but also that in the book Sapiens, the author talks about that the way that humans have evolved over time is because we are willing to share our stories. When we're willing to share our happy stories, we're willing to share our struggling stories, we're willing to, and either way, whether it's a happy story or a struggling story or whatever, is there's always something what to learn and to grow from, and a way to connect with other people. And when we know how to use the building blocks of our story to create something even richer, then our life just continues to evolve and continue to get more and more abundant.
Yeah, so here's a story for you. I'm sitting in the science classroom of my dear friend Mari Kate, and I remember Mari Kate as a teenager, and she's the daughter of my principal. And now to see her all grown up and teaching her own class in this brand new high school, it's just like we've come full circle. I love it.
That is so wild. And if I remember right, you babysat her when she was just a wee.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. You know, when she was just a kid. So I've seen her grown up, and it's amazing. And I don't know if she was coming or not, but like, do you see this flamingo? Oh my God! I feel like that was just like a tribute to me because I'm coming from Florida, so there's a Florida flamingo right there. So I don't know if she's put that there before, or maybe it's one of her students. But I feel like, you know what? It's a sign. I'm in the right place. And
You know, and you normally live in a place where you probably actually see real live flamingos going across your yard, rather than all the other places I've lived where people have plastic flamingos in their yard.
exactly. So since we're in high school, let's take a trip down memory lane. Do you recall your high school experience? Was there a moment in time when you like maybe weren't happy?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, you know me and you know my story. High school in general is not a happy time for me. Although there were some in you reintroducing this idea of high school, I realized that I can reframe my high school story in that there were some difficult times. I was dealing with some pretty severe depression and felt pretty alone, both, well, pretty much everywhere I went. Although I also had lots of leadership responsibilities, which was kind of interesting. That here's this guy who's struggling, and yep, well, let's put him in leadership position here and there and everywhere. And but it all worked out. And one of the things that was cool about that time is that I had an opportunity to try out different things. To one of the things that I, for whatever reason, I one of the things that really stands out at that time were all the school and church dances that I went to. And oftentimes I would be one of those wallflowers standing against the wall, but also there were lots of other times when I connected with just that one person, that where we had friends and really connected. That even when I was kind of shunning the spotlight and staying away from the masses, that there were still people that I connected with, people that I really related to. And the way that I'm reframing my story is that because I went through, had the experience that I had in high school, that I was able to transform it and turn it into something much more positive. I went from literally flunking classes my senior year in high school to, and swearing that I was never going to step foot in school again. And the month that I graduated from high school, my parents actually moved out. And so I had the house, and with a roommate that I, friend from school, that we rented out the house for my parents, and did a lot of things that I no longer do, and partied like crazy, and got that all out of my system, such that 2 months after I graduated, maybe 3 months, I was back in school. And this time I was actually studying, which I had never really done before. It was always something that I just kind of did by the seat of my pants. And I was fortunate enough that, flying by the seat of my pants, I had a talent for doing well in school, even if without really trying to. Minus this classes that I flunked out of because I totally skipped them and was doing other things during those times. And as I really dug into the college experience and was able to choose what classes I wanted to take, I enjoyed the experience so much more, and really, maybe for the first time, really began to fall in love with school. and learning and realizing just how wide and wonderful the world was if I opened myself up to that. So high school doesn't really there's a contrast of the struggles of high school and the successes that I had when I entered into college.
Wow, thank you so much for opening up with that because, I too have some bittersweet memories of high school. And this is where our discussion comes in today, right? Because when you submitted your theme to me, we were talking about tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Yes.
So we can, sit here and look back and actually laugh now.
Yes,
It took
fortunately.
time. It took time for those experiences to really like sink in. And I love what you're saying about now you're reframing it in a positive light and how maybe in a way it has helped to shape who you are today. I mean, think about all the things you're sharing in knowledge and you're teaching others in this brand new virtual format through summits, through collaborations, through Toastmasters. So you're doing so much teaching and leading now.
Yeah, and one of the things that I oftentimes refer to is that I was probably if not the shyest person in school, I was definitely among the top 5. So there you go. I was among the top 5. And so, in fact, I wore this really heavy jacket like all the time, and a friend of mine called me Beetle because I was always like burrowed up in this heavy jacket and kind of shunning any time that I interacted with other people. Except I did interact with other people, obviously. Just it was a very conflicted time of my life, which is probably true for a lot of teenagers.
Well, I mean, it's emerging adulthood, right? Emerging young adulthood, and just trying to figure out who we are, and at the same time wanting to like belong. So is that your high school nickname, Beetle?
Probably, I guess.
Oh my goodness! I want to hear from the audience. If you've got a high school nickname, right? What was your moniker back in the day? We'd love to hear it in the chat. So please go ahead and drop it in the chat for me. Would love to hear that and spotlight you, and just to reminisce for a bit. And I was the brown noser in high school. That's what they called me. Oh, do you even know what that refers to?
I do know what that refers to.
Okay. So for someone that doesn't know what that refers to, I was called the kiss ass and the one that was the teacher's pet and the brown noser. Yeah. So you couldn't tell today because I'm such, an online social media persona, but I was not the most popular person in high school. And
Wow.
somehow I just figured out early on that like if you couldn't help me, I had to move on. And so I was such a serious kid in high school because like I'm a first generation, college graduate, right? So like doing well in school, academia was my life, getting scholarships to go to college. That was my whole world back then. So I was a very serious student. And I don't know why, but I just made the decision that like, okay, my friends are not going to help me get into college. So why would I hang out with them? I'd rather hang out with the teachers, right? Who could write me like letters of recommendation, who could mentor me, who could help me with college campus tours. And so that was my mindset at the time. And no wonder I work so well now with like people who are like maybe older and more mature than me, because I've had that even as a kid, like being able to go and seek out mentors, seek out coaches, seek out help, and just find people that are going to like help elevate my game versus hanging around with the cool kids. you know and so guess who's the cool kid now, right? But I look back at that time. It was like so awkward because I so desperately wanted to fit in. I so desperately wanted to fit in with the cool kids, with the popular kids. I wanted to sit at that table, and then I was also at the nerd table, and then and I was the one that was like, and in order to be popular, I felt like you had to play sports, and I was not the most coordinated person. I couldn't join any sports because I had to babysit right after school. And so my extracurricular activities were limited to like model congress and academic Olympics and science club. So, because those are the only ones that didn't like have like lots of practices and tryouts and meets. And so those are the ones that I could commit to. So,
And here you are back in your science class.
oh my gosh. So here I am back in my science class. And so I feel like I can laugh about it now, and I think I have a much deeper appreciation for what youths, right, are going through today, and just letting them know, like, it's okay. You just do you.
Yes, I think that, if I could give any message to the youth, and especially the younger Steve, is just be you. Don't. And I actually had plenty of friends who were telling me to do that. To just be you. Don't worry about it. Don't try to be somebody else. And I don't know that I was really open to listening to that at the time, but so often we try to fit in with the cool kids by doing things that don't really fit, aren't really authentic for who we are. And yet when we do those things that really fit for who we are, it is amazing how oftentimes everybody thinks we're cool because we're doing what we're doing. And it's like, well, this seems so weird because I'm not pretending anymore.
Yeah, so I want to know in the comments too, what would you say to your younger teenage self? So let us know. So tell us your story. We've got the story architect right here. So share with us your stories and your memories with us. All right, awesome. So let me ask you about Toastmasters, because Toastmasters seems like really serious. And, part of why I'm doing part of why I'm doing this live stream, Get Your Happy On, right? Because it's in accordance with my own project with the Humor Academy. I'm going for my certified humor professional certification, and we've been studying from our curriculum, and it just happens to be play, right? So chapter 2 is about identifying playful opportunities. And so I was thinking about your involvement in Toastmasters and how you created an online, like you actually created and chartered an online Toastmasters club. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. And are there opportunities to play within Toastmasters? Because I feel like sometimes it has that sheen, right? That shield that it's like this ultra serious thing. You got the podium, you got the timer, you got. So are there opportunities to play within Toastmasters?
Absolutely. And I totally appreciate what you're sharing there, Olivia, in that I had attended, I don't know how many, but a bunch of Toastmaster clubs over the years, and had never really joined one. And then when I moved to Tacoma, Washington, I was attending a business networking event, and one of the members of that event kept on inviting me to go to his Toastmasters club. And I'm just like, I really don't want to go because it feels so stiff. And every time that I've gone to a Toastmasters club, it felt like, just, button up and tie and, just really constricted. And that was not what I was looking for. And so I finally went to his club just to get him to shut up and stop inviting me. And it turned out that it was actually a really fun club, which surprised me because I had totally the opposite expectation of what it was going to be like. I thought it was going to be, no fun at all. It helped a lot that the president of the club at the time was literally a professional clown. And so, and a comedian and an MC and so forth. So he brought his fun and laughter to the club. And with, I don't know how many clubs there are in the world, but there are thousands and thousands of clubs. And every club has its own character, has its own feel. And some clubs are definitely more serious than others. Some are, really the buttoned up and, you wear a tie. And I think one of the reasons I really resisted the tie is that my dad would, when I was growing up, before he loosened up, would wear a tie everywhere. Like he'd put a tie on to go to the grocery store. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is not what I'm looking for. And so when I moved here to North Carolina, I was looking for a local club. And I was again finding clubs that just really didn't fit. They weren't clubs that I felt at home at. And out of frustration, I reached out online and said, hey, is anybody interested in creating a virtual Toastmasters club? And this time I really focused in on, well, let's have coaches, authors, speakers who are come together in this Toastmaster club and create something that feels good and really resonates for all of us. And we called it the World of Difference Toastmasters Club. And this time it felt great. Instead of kind of going to a Toastmasters club and feeling a little bit flagellated for saying or and so or whatever, I found myself going to this club that I'd been part of creating and just really loving who was there and how open and supportive and vulnerable everybody was willing to be. My moral of the story is that Toastmasters can be really formal and it can be really stiff, but it doesn't have to be. And honestly, that's true for, think about any kind of story or any kind of time that Olivia, you do laughter yoga, and that, which is kind of the opposite of seriousness and prim and proper and everything. It's just kind of like, let's just have fun and do these laughter exercises. My oldest daughter is still kind of, she has said a couple of times that she resists going to some of the things that I do because we do weird things. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And she, what she was specifically talking about was the laughter yoga. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, but that's so much fun. So people look for different things. I think my daughter was actually be more comfortable in a more serious and realistic environment, quote unquote realistic. It's definitely my art style and her art style are different. And it is finding the community, the environment, and the way to express ourselves that works for us. It's about being true to ourselves so that we can be true and authentic with other people. And when we do that, we have a tendency to create and find those places that really resonate and help us to be who we are at our best.
Exactly. And in studying this chapter, it just hit me like, wow, like I lost out on play, right? Like when we were working in the office at my old job, like there was no games or playing. And I have to credit you because you introduced me to Talia Deschaux, and she does Creativity Club every Thursday. So if you're looking for something to do today, it's Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Go to Creativity Club because I really relish that opportunity to go and just cut loose and like have these fun, weird games, whatever, and you just can't do it wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's really true about laughter yoga. It's true about the creativity. It's true about play. And when we really learn to play, when we learn to let go of having the right answer and doing things the right way, we not only, ironically, that's actually how we evolve the most quickly is through play and through story and letting go of this is the way it has always been. And we're going to make sure that it is this way forever and ever. When we let go of that rigidity and allow for diversity, for inclusion, for expressiveness, for different expressions, that is actually when we grow and evolve the most quickly and come up with the best answers.
Yes. And so shout out to you, Talia. We love your Creativity Club and you can just drop by. So it's not like a formal invitation that you need. Just drop by whenever you need like a little playful boost. But it's helped me so much just to unleash that creativity and be able to play these games. And like you said, like not having to have all the right answers because so much of school was like getting the grade and having to get the right answer and being right and like defending your thesis, all this, right? And you had to be you had to back up all your sources. Oh my gosh, citations. Citations after citation after citation. I was a smart kid. I was in AP English. And so we did a lot of that. And
Yeah.
it's something so freeing about like, you know what? There's no right or wrong answer. There's just my answer.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the reasons I went into accounting was because there are right answers. It's like when you balance your checkbook, you better know whether or not you actually are in balance or not. And it's really about finding that balance between what is right, what works. Like when we're dealing with technology, and there are certain right ways to get things done, but there are also an awful lot of latitude as to how we can play with it. That when we're doing these live streams, it doesn't have to look a certain way. There are certain things we have to do in order to get that, have this environment. Like I can't click on whatever link that I want. I can't just put a random URL in the browser and expect to get to where I want. But if I put in the URL that is associated with things like this, then it gets me to where I want to go. But it's also it's finding that balance between the two. It's finding the fun, finding the play, finding the creativity, and doing so in alignment with things that work.
Indeed. I just want to say Olivia runs on Duncan. Forget America. Olivia runs on Duncan. That should be the new slogan.
I am curious, Olivia, if iced tea is as big in Massachusetts as it is, I know, in North Carolina. I don't know if it is in Florida as well. Here in North Carolina, you can have the beverage choices oftentimes are sweetened or unsweetened tea.
I love sweet tea. And I didn't even know there was a thing until I moved down south. Like I've never, ever, ever had sweet tea, like ever in Boston. And then actually when I was in Vietnam, like I lived in Vietnam after I graduated college on my Fulbright, and the beverage there is iced tea. And so everywhere you go, instead of giving you water, if you went out to eat somewhere, they would give you iced tea. And they would make the most flavorful iced teas ever. I mean, you could get like the Lipton brew, you could get lemongrass iced tea, you could get artichoke iced tea, which is my favorite. Yes. So they would just, take artichoke and cook it for a very long time, or even use like dried artichoke and then just make tea from that. But it is the most refreshing drink ever because in Vietnam it gets so hot. So like having like lemongrass iced tea and artichoke iced tea was like the most invigorating thing ever. And then I moved down south and like everybody started drinking sweet tea, right? And I love sweet tea. So yeah, so this is actually just green iced tea. So it's nothing eventful. But good question, because I probably could write a story about that, like about iced teas of the world or something.
Right, yes. Well, I've never even considered asparagus iced tea.
Artichoke.
Artichoke. Okay. Artichoke. Okay.
Yes. Artichoke iced tea.
Got it.
Different
But
shape,
even so,
different color, different everything stuff. So artichoke.
artichoke iced tea, which still seems like I would never expect to have that. And maybe I need to expand my tea palette.
Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. And I just want to comment what you said about how there are certain things that we have to do, right, to make technology work, but at the same time, it doesn't have to look and feel like a certain way. And so I want to comment about like our Heart Notes anthology, because that was just like thrown together. So if you've not received your Heart Notes anthology, please go buy one. It's available on Amazon. So you get your Kindle version or this beautiful paperback version. Woo! And pro tip, if you order on smile.amazon.com and search for the book, or just use this link here below, you can choose the charity of your choice in which your book sale can go towards, right? So I think it's an amazing initiative when you shop smile.amazon.com. But, I've always wanted to write a book. You've always wanted to write a book. And so we're like, okay, let's just do it. And we discovered this amazing world of Kindle, KDP, and self-publishing through our book coach, Mila Johansson. Irma Goosen came on. She got certified to be an editor just for us, right? And came on to become our editor. And so, the four of us collaborated, and like we threw this book together, and we're still making updates. We're still adding to it. And it's so cool because maybe like our first product, I think we forgot like the websites or resources page, but we've added that now, and we still continue to add to it. And we still are pushing out like volume 2, right? We want to have several editions, but in the process, we weren't hung up on our like getting it right. We just wanted to get it like done.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was such a learning experience. I mean, I read, as you know, Olivia, a ton of books, but I've always been a consumer rather than a creator of books. And one, I had no idea how much work it is to even after you've written everything, and even after it's all been edited, there are whole other layers of the publishing process that I wasn't even clear on. I think you can actually spend probably a lifetime just learning all the ins and outs of how to get a book out there, how to make it the best book that it can be, and have it be reach the people and the audience that you want it to reach. So it, as our guest this morning, Terry Levine, who shared that she has written 47 books in her lifetime. We're just barely getting started on that, but there might come a time when Olivia will be able to say, I've written 47 books, maybe even 48 books. And
Oh my gosh, Steph, could you imagine just a bookshelf of all my books, all my book titles? Awesome. So now it comes to our favorite segment of the show, which we like to call table topics. But first off, I've put here in the chat, what are your favorite books? And so if you let us know your favorite books, please put that in the comments. We'd love to give you a big shout out. And top of your head, Steph, right now, what are you reading?
oh gosh, what am I reading? I have always got multiple books on hand. I'm reading a book by Pima Chodron, uh, The Places That Scare Us, I think, or something like that. I am reading a book called Unworthy. I am reading, gosh, I'll have to pull up my.
Okay, you're reading all these books simultaneously?
I am,
Oh
yes.
my God. How do you keep them all straight?
Well, they're all unique enough that it's not really that challenging for me.
Okay.
They're not all the same. Oh, I'm also reading Mel Robbins' 5 Second Rule. And let's see what else. Anyway, a bunch of books.
A bunch of books. Okay, so if you need a book recommendation, talk to Steph. All right, so every show I like to pull table topics. So I've got table topics here ready. Here we go. And so you'll like this one. it was magical that I pulled this for you. So here we go. Writing down your thoughts and ideas on a regular basis has been shown to make you feel more content. Okay. And I
Yes,
know for a fact that that's something that you do with the 750words.com.
absolutely.
So my question for you today is, when do you get your best ideas?
When do I get my best ideas? When I make time to create the best ideas. I honestly have no idea when my best ideas are going to come, because they come in all kinds of random ways and random times and random practices. But I can say that if I am consistent about engaging in those practices, then I am much more likely to come up with some great ideas. Whereas if I don't do those practices, and those practices can be anything from going on walks and recording my thoughts on my phone, to doing my 750 words, to doing things like what I call soul scribbles, where I ask myself a question, close my eyes and scribble on a piece of paper, and then look at it to see what's there and figure it out. Or I do something called doodle planning, where it's like an idea, and rather than writing it out, I draw it out and see how do I make sense of what I'm doing. And so there, and each one of them, and the reason I do each one of them on a consistent basis is because each one of them has contributed to helping me to understand, one, who I am, how do I be more content, how do I be happier, how do I create more value. And there are constantly opportunities to come up with ideas. I also publish the weekly Golden Nugget newsletter. And one of the reasons that I do that is because every time that I started out with sharing a story, and the story is always something from my life. And as I, not only am I sharing the story, but I'm also processing that story and figuring out, well, what is it that is meaningful from this story, not only for my audience, but also for myself? How do I get the most bang for my buck out of this roughly 500 word newsletter? And it invariably adds tons of value to what I'm doing.
I have to give a plug for your Gifts into Gold newsletter because I truly do enjoy them. I look forward to them every Tuesday on the clock. And you put so much sincere effort into them. I love how you break down the words. Like there's a word of the day that you break down its roots, its Latin origins, its Greek origins. And then you also include like a YouTube clip. So you're paying it forward. You're saying, hey, by the way, you might like this YouTube clip that's related to that message or related to that topic that you're writing about. And I love it. I think my favorite newsletters are the ones when you talk about Martha and the kids and like their daily life and the things that you observe, right? Because there's so much that we can miss if we don't pay attention to those small details and observe and reflect. And so what a great way in your writing, your newsletters, that you can share that.
Thank you. Yeah, that always warms my heart to hear that, because I get so much out of it. That the fact that other people get something out of it as well is like icing on the cake. Because, and one of the things that I learned, I think earlier this week when I was working with a visibility coach, is that icing on the cake can be totally valuable. Have you ever eaten a cake without any icing? And I know I have, but it's not nearly as good as when it has the icing on it. So
that's the best part. You just like, swipe your finger and just lick off the icing, right? Lick the frosting.
absolutely.
That's the best part of eating cake. Awesome. So if you don't know Stef, please connect with him. Please go into Gifts into Gold. There's also a YouTube channel, Gifts into Gold, because Stef is also an amazing podcast host. So hint, if you'd like to reach out to him and find ways to collaborate and be on his show, I think he'd love to welcome you too. So now we're going to move on to rapid fire question time. So this is my favorite part of the segment where before we end, I like to put my guests through a series of 21 questions, all rapid fire, to see how well they think on their feet. So here we go. Are you ready, Stef?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Do you have your beverage of choice? I think you might need to take a sip.
I do have my beverage of choice.
All right, go ahead and take a sip.
Wet my whistle.
Wet your whistle, indeed. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3. Morning lark or night owl?
I am now a morning person. Morning lark. There you go. Although for the longest time I was totally a night owl.
How did you make the switch? I'm still trying to figure that out.
What I discovered was, rather than trying to force myself to get up at 5 a.m., which is what I oftentimes do now, is that it actually is far more important when I go to bed. And so when I am consistent about going to bed between 9 and 10, then getting up at 5 a.m. is not much of a challenge. But if I go to bed at midnight or later, and I did last night go to bed later than midnight, it's a little bit harder to get up that early.
So there's that big C word again, consistency. So in writing, in storytelling, and creating new schedules. Okay, awesome. All right, second question, West Coast or East Coast?
Oh gosh, how I've lived on both. I love them both. Both.
Both? Okay, I'll let you slide on that one. How many places have you lived in?
Oh my gosh. What are we counting? Houses, towns, cities, states?
Let's go with towns.
Oh my gosh. That will not be a quick question. A dozen or more, at least.
I'll take that. A dozen or more. Got it. Okay. Have you ever skipped school in high school?
Oh, yes.
Favorite subject in high school?
Probably English, actually.
Your worst subject in high school?
Science.
Well, you're in the science classroom today, so. Your favorite extracurricular activity or class elective?
Class elective. Well, I ran cross country. I threw the javelin. I did some wrestling. But probably my favorite was reading.
Reading. Excellent. Awesome. So in your yearbook, does it say most likely to fill in the blank?
I have no idea. I never bought my yearbook.
You never bought your yearbook?
I didn't.
Oh, we're going to have to track that down. I'm on it. Okay. Did you even submit a photo, or are you like a big question mark or blank?
I think I know there's a photo there because I've got my senior year picture that I had in it.
Okay, we're going to track it down. Who was your favorite teacher in high school?
Probably my AP history teacher, because he just made it really fun and true to Oregonian culture. He was very liberal and anyway, he just made it a lot of fun and really engaged with the students.
You know, I love my AP history teacher as well. Oh, so love history class. All right. Did you ever get detention?
I never did get detention. I did have to sit in the hallway that was when I was in elementary school. But I don't think I ever got in detention any other time, which is amazing because I skipped class like crazy.
It's on your permanent record. They might have to dig that up.
They'll put me in detention now if they find.
Right? You have a backlog of detention, sir. So, what song would best describe your high school experience?
Oh gosh. Well, I was very into like Scorpions and Van Halen and maybe Jump by Van Halen.
Yes. Okay, I was thinking that Jump by Van Halen. That's a fantastic song. Okay. Did you go to your senior prom?
I did not.
Oh, darn it. I was going to say, my next question was, who did you take as your prom date? So,
I didn't go on a date until after high school.
okay. So, what do you think your principal would say about you?
Who's he?
Stefan? I don't know Stefan. Steven, I know. So what would you say to your teenage self?
Oh man, chill out. Have some fun, and you're okay. Because I never felt like I was okay. You know.
And you're okay. Love it. And you're okay. Okay. So regarding Heart Notes, if we were ever to make Heart Notes into a movie, who would you cast to play you?
Oh man. Well, the lookalike would be George Costanza from Seinfeld.
I just had the image of you two side by side, and you know what? It's pretty striking resemblance.
We're secret cousins.
Secret cousins, indeed. So I know that you referenced your dad in one of the letters. So who would you have to play your father?
Oh man, who would I have to play my father? The person who's coming to mind is Jack Nicholson, but Dad and Jack Nicholson are so. Jack Nicholson would have to be having a heck of a wild time, and be much more effeminate than he normally is.
Yes, I was just thinking of like, who could we get to play that Nordstrom model? The man who goes to the supermarket in a tie, right?
Right. And Dad was a big fan of Nordstrom.
Exactly. All right. So what is the first location that you'd want to host the Sing Your Heart Song Summit live?
Oh, live. Wow. Gosh. Bali, Jacksonville, Asheville. Man,
I said the first location.
well, the first one that came to mind is Bali, but
Bali. Okay. And then the second location? That's a follow-up question.
you know what? I've always, ever since I watched Man from Snowy River when I was a kid, I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. That would be super cool.
All right, done and done. So you heard it here first on this live stream. The first summit location will be in Bali, and then the second will be New Zealand. We just might see a kangaroo. Okay. So what is your big, hairy, audacious goal for the Sing Your Heart Song Summit?
My big, hairy, audacious goal. Well, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to touch 1 million lives. So I would love for the ripple effect of the Sing Your Heart Song Summit to go out and touch 1 million lives, to share their story and to love who they are.
Excellent. We're on our way through the books, through the summit, through our speaker spotlights. You'll never know where you'll find Stef and I next. Okay, my last question for you for this rapid fire question time. Who do you want to speak at the summit, past or present?
Oh man, we've had some awesome presenters in the past.
Thinking past, even like in past life.
Oh, past life. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it could be someone past or present.
You know who I'd love to have is Brene Brown on.
Say no more. It's all about the intention. So Brene Brown, if you're listening, we would love you to be a keynote speaker at the Sing Your Heart Song Summit.
Yes, please.
Please. Our people call your people.
Olivia's on it.
I'm on it. Okay. I'm on it. Awesome. Well, congratulations, Stef. You passed our rapid fire question time.
Ticker tape and confetti and all that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for playing along. I just love asking those questions, putting people on the spot and seeing what else I can learn about you. So very good. And so all of you who are watching this, thank you so much for your support. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Get Your Happy On with the amazing Stef Garvin, story architect. And some couple of announcements if you don't know already, but we are hosting the Sing Your Heart Song Summit. So we've been going live every day, Monday through Friday, this entire month of June, bringing you all the amazing presenters we've got lined up for July. So please register today. This is the link. It's pretty active. So singyourheartsongsummit.com. Please go ahead and reserve your spot, get your tickets. We're doing a hands-on workshop, so you want to make sure that you get your summit kits in time for that sparkly embellish journaling workshop with Chris Dyer. And so here are the dates, July 19, 20, and 21. So please go and register. And big shout out to Tala Dashal because she has brought not only Stef and I and some amazing other collaborators, Victoria Reeves, Laura Lynn Armstrong, and Ann Bingham together. We are going to do something called the Summer Solstice Creative Soul Spa. That's going to be happening on June 25th, so it's days away. And you know what, Stef? I have to say, like, it's so nice to have someone else like plan an event. Like all I did was like show up. So I'm like, all right, I'll be there. So thank you, Tally, for hosting and we just got to show up, right? And so it's so nice that she took the reins on that one. But come and play with us. We're going to be doing some journaling and writing prompts with Stef. I'll be doing some laughter yoga. Tally's got amazing creative games ready for you as well. We're going to do tarot card breaks. We're going to make empowerment dolls with Victoria. We're also going to do something called the Small Thing Big Project with Ann Bingham. And so be sure, it's a pretty long link, but the best thing is just go to eventbrite.com and search for the event, Summer Solstice Creative Soul Spa, and grab your tickets because that is running out fast. So you want to make sure that you go there. And if you want to see more collaborations between Stef and I, that's the next place we'll be. So with that being said, please, please, please consider going to Toastmasters World of Difference. Okay, so here's the link below. So go check out that club, get on their schedule, find out when they have the open house, and then also make sure that you connect with Stef on LinkedIn, and then also on Facebook, and then also gifts into gold. So please subscribe to that newsletter. I think you'll get a lot of golden nuggets, and you'll find a lot of value there. So thank you, Steph, so much for being on this Get You Happy on live stream.
Such a pleasure, Olivia.
Indeed. And thank you to all of you for sticking it out this long. Oh my gosh. So we're over time, but I'm so glad that you stayed. And if you're watching this on replay, hashtag replay, continue the conversation, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Thank you so much for watching Get Your Happy On. Have you enjoyed today's episode? I invite you to comment. So please share with us your thoughts and ideas in the comments. We'll be checking and would love to reply back to you. Please also connect. Connect with each of our amazing special guests and connect with each other here in the comments as well. This is a great way to network and to make new friends. And finally, collaborate. I would love to find ways to collaborate with you or help you to find collaborations with vast people in my network. So remember, comment, connect, and collaborate. Thank you again. See you next week.